Well, today, this is the end tank of the radiator. Here's the new one I got from the radiator shop in town, and I took the transmission cooler out, and I learned something I didn't know. These gaskets fit this end perfectly. Is that in the shot? These fit this end perfectly, and this end's way too small. So, got to order more parts. Didn't know that. Probably should have taken this apart sooner, but I've had a screaming headache for 10 days, so you don't get to think of those things very often. So anyway, I took this apart, took some, this is just cheap Chinese Scotch-Brite, and cleaned this shelf here where these would go. Now, I don't know if are these in the shot? Yeah. I took these off of this one, and they are literally brittle. They just chunked off. So, that's not good. And the other thing is, when I was taking this big wrench to them to take them off, they weren't even tight. So either somebody else has been in this tank, or what happens is, I don't know if you can really see it. Let's see, do I have a flashlight here? Oh, I bet I don't. The gasket's really flatly compressed, and the more it's compressed and the older it gets, the less the tension's going to be on the nut, right? So, either case it would look like a sieve. So, here's some new ones. For the big side, I have to order the little ones, or, excuse my reach, I could cut it out of this stuff. This is about 90% as thick. I think it's, I don't know what it is. But it looks like the same material, feels like the same material, but this goes on the inside of this, on these tanks, and it gets hotter than hell and chemically exposed and all that shit. So, I'm not going to screw around. I'm going to order new parts because this is way too difficult to undo. The one thing we have found out is that the O-ring that sits here, they call it a gasket in the industry. The original, I'm going to have to reuse it. But I'm going to have to reuse it with that 500-degree black silicone that I had ordered. That was my backup plan. Apparently that's where I have to go. So you put in a layer of that stuff, drop the O-ring in, put another layer over it, and then drop this in and clamp it all in 15 minutes. So we'll see when that day comes. But until then, I've got to make this seal real well. So I've cleaned it up pretty decently, a little more touch up, and it'll be done. Something I wanted to show, here's the one that came out of the one from the radiator shop. And the tubes of the radiator come down and end like this, so they flow right onto the transmission cooler. You see all these marks on here? That's the coolant flowing onto this transmission cooler. You see how they're very distinct and clear? It's a little harder to see on this one, but like here in the middle, there's no clean brass. It's all gone. These are very, over here they're kind of diminished, but they're still there. And then, let's see. And then the ones, sorry about the light, I don't have anything, I can do anything about that. The ones on the back side here are almost non-existent. There's a few here that are okay there, nothing, and greatly diminished. Those are plug tubes. So this came off of a radiator that was in far better shape than that. So maybe that ended up with a cracked tube or a cracked tank on the other end or something like that. These, by the way, can you see that? They're hollow. They're two brass tubes of different sizes soldered together, and that comprises the transmission cooler. Now, it could have some, material like this in there to really scatter it, but I don't know. I've never taken one of these apart, probably never will. But anyway, just another sign to show that the old one here that actually came off of the radiator for this Jeep is in bad shape. It needed to get cleaned out badly. So it's cleaned out. It's ready to go. I just thought I'd do the tank today since I was feeling better. And then I find I don't have another part. So that's the way it goes. Anyway, so let me give you an idea of the difference in diameter. Here, this will help. You guys see that? See the difference in diameter? I need them this size. Now, yes, I could cut them out of that sheet, but I'm going to call them and say, hey, do you have the other one? They didn't have the O-ring gasket for this surface. They didn't have it. They had one that had sharper corners and it was really little, and I don't think that's going to work. The O-ring that goes on here, stock, is pretty hefty. It's probably, let's just say, 1/8 in diameter, and the other one was like half that or just a little over half that. So I don't know if I'm going to get the other ones, but fortunately I have that rubber. I can lay this on the rubber and cut with an X-Acto on the inside and the outside and make a gasket. That could happen. But I'm not in a huge rush. Let's see. The previous video I showed you guys the rod for the ignition I got out of a working Jeep. It's too late because mine's already fixed. What else? The one thing that was missing, that I didn't know was missing until recently, was this is called a horn contact kit. Let me take my name and phone number off of here. It fell out of the package. 83230 is the part number from Dorman. Anyway, so you have to take your steering wheel off. That's not hard. And then there's a plastic key piece and the actual contactor and the spring loads it. So that's all completely missing from my horn, which isn't a huge surprise considered whoever got in here really jacked it up. Anyway, so that'll fix the horn because that's a safety item. Anyway, that's it for now. One of the things I got to figure out is our temperatures around here have dropped like a brick. It was like upper 40s, low 50s this morning, which for the desert's awful cold. You see how this is glass-filled nylon, these pieces? It's shrunk in. It's shrunken even more than this. Supposedly when you push it on the tank and clamp it, it spreads out and fits, but I'd kind of like to preheat it in the sun a little bit to make it a little more flexible. The last thing I need to do is crack this. And you know what I should probably do too? There's an O-ring under here. Oh God. Yeah, you know what? Give me a minute. I'm going to get a pair of pliers or an Allen wrench, and I'm going to take that apart and see if it's the same size. Because that one's, I don't know if you guys can see it on camera, but it's weather checked really bad. Well, weather, heat, thermally checked. Alright, I'll be right back. Alright, I think somebody's had this apart because I put an Allen wrench in there and I barely had to move it and it came off. Okay. Oh look, can you guys see the cobwebs in there? It's so dark. Oh, there we go. See the cobwebs? This was sitting in his junk pile for a while. Okay, so I'll clean that up later. Now, oh, see, it's a third size. Oh, man. So now we got 3 size of these round gaskets. We need one for the cap and 2 different sizes for the tank. So, holy crap. Alright, well, I'm going to have to measure these and make sure I get the right size from them. Yeah, I could make them. But this one's just toast. Well, you know, if you don't look, you never know, right? So, yeah, that needs to be cleaned up a little bit. It doesn't look like the plastic's cracked or anything. Oh God, don't. Oh, don't tell me. I hope this is just a parting line across here and not a crack. The parting line is only on half. Oh God. Oh, it's a crack. Well, I'm not completely sure of that. I don't know. Can you guys see this across here? Boy, you know, the stress of putting a cap on this way, let's see, push, twist, would put a lot of tension on this piece right here. I think it's cracked, my friends. That's not a, like here, this is a parting line from the mold when they built this thing. Here's a parting line. Here's a parting line right here. Well, that ain't no parting line. Parting lines are positive. They usually stick out a little bit or they're ground down. This is negative. This is a hole. So I need to get a flashlight and shine it in here and look, because that means this thing's junk. Ah, shit. Well, I'm not fixing this. I would like to get another tank though, because having the cap on here just gives me another place to burp it and fill it from on this Renix Jeep. So, alright, I gotta find out if this all goes all the way through, so that's gonna require a light. I don't have anything else to compare it to because this tank doesn't have one. Just for the fun of it. Oh yeah, this doesn't have a gasket on it. It does, but it's toasted. Okay, well, holy crap. Bare minimum, we have to go back to this tank, which would really suck. I would love nothing more than to have a radiator cap attachment, but my friends, I'm going to have to look under bright light, maybe even under a microscope, and make sure that's not a crack. I mean, it could be a parting line, but my eyeballs aren't telling me that. Alright, well, I'll go find out and let you know.